I've had a really wonderful television career. It started in the early 50s, around about 53 I think it was, when I did my first television show for the Magic Circle. Yes, the Magic Circle had 2 or 3 television broadcasts in the early days, and magicians were really scared of the media. They thought that once you've been seen on television, that's the act, and then you won't be able to do any more in the future. They were partly right, but those of us who were lucky enough to be able to create new ideas just continued working on television and getting used to the media. Soon after the Magic Circle show, I was asked to do one of the bigger Saturday night variety shows, and I thought I want to be different. The image of magicians in those days was to wear white ties and tails, certainly black dinner jackets, with a top hat and a white scarf and a cloak, very formal and very traditional. And I thought, no, I will be different. People always said it must be up a sleeve, so I decided to go on television in a short-sleeved sport shirt without any sleeves. And sure enough, it hit the headlines. The magician who couldn't have put it up his sleeves because he didn't have any and didn't even have pockets. Well, I showed my hands empty and then started producing numerous cigarettes, silk handkerchiefs, coloured boards, and all kinds of things that magicians produce, but without moving my hands out of shot from the camera, and it did cause quite a sensation. In fact, the television critic Clifford Davis, who worked for the Daily Mail for many, many years, said that I was the most innovative and creative magician on television in those days. Quite an accolade, and really started my career. Well, in those early days, when magicians were a little scared of the media, the head of light entertainment of the BBC, a man called Ronnie Waldman, came along to the Magic Circle to give a talk on television. I don't think many magicians were convinced it was a good thing, but he gave an interesting talk. Incidentally, Ronnie had been a very famous name from a radio show called Monday Night at 8.
Monday Night at 8, presented by Harriet Pepper and Ronald Waldman. Singing comers, the Three Chimes, and the BBC Variety Orchestra conducted by Ernest Longstaff.
It's Monday night at 8 o'clock, so can't you hear the chimes?
He had a thing called Puzzle Corner every Monday night, so he was absolutely nationally known. He saw me in the club room. He recognized me from my many television appearances. We had a very brief chat. Of course, I called him Mr. Waldman, and he said he enjoyed my work, and that was it. Well, that gave me an idea. The next day, I telephoned his office, and his secretary answered the phone, and I said, "My name is David Berglas, and I met Ronnie last night." Yes, I said Ronnie, not Mr. Waldman. And he wants to see me for something. I have no idea what it's about, but unfortunately I can't make this week. But I might be able to make next week. She said, "Just a moment, I'll check his book." So she went through his diary and said, well, he might have half an hour to spare on the Wednesday before a luncheon appointment. I said, "That's fine, I can make that." It was all, of course, absolutely made up. But then I went to the appointment. I was there in good time, and she reminded me that he's only got half an hour, and in I went. I had an idea at the back of my mind, and I was very enthusiastic and very passionate about it, so that after half an hour, I saw him pick up his phone and say to his secretary, "Hold all my calls and cancel my next 2 appointments." Wow. I had 2.5 hours with him, gave him my idea, he liked it, and I walked out with my own television show called Meet David Berglas. That was in February 1955 and was undoubtedly my biggest break and established me as the first magician ever to have his own television series. My producer was Ernest Maxim, who had numerous television successes in the light entertainment industry. When he was interviewed by a newspaper about my show, He said it was an unusual experience for him, as we were meeting late at night and worked into the early hours. He said that my routine sounded even more eerie and mysterious at that time of the morning, and he had no idea how I would be able to accomplish the effect that I was proposing. He never did find out, but I'm glad to say that we became lifelong friends. The result was staggering, as we managed to attract an audience of 19.5 million, a record for those days. This was beaten many years later by the popular Morecambe and Wise shows with a viewing figure of 23 million. Coincidentally, most of their shows was also produced by Ernest Maxim, who was also the ideas man behind some of their best-known sketches, such as the kitchen routine performed to the music of the Stripper. The format of my show, which had appealed to Ronnie Waldman, was simple but highly original at the time. Of course, that could not happen anymore. When you bring an idea to the head of Light Entertainment, it has to go through numerous channels, and you may be given a pilot show if you're lucky. To get a series from just one visit would feel like a fairy tale these days. The idea of the show was quite revolutionary. I requested that we have a sort of party setting, like a family lounge with a settee and comfortable armchairs and even lamp standards and carpets and so on, not to make it look like a studio, but a home setting, and I would be throwing a party for my celebrity friends. And the show exactly turned out like that. I had over 10 celebrities sitting around, every one of them really well known and a national figure. And then I performed various tricks, of course, but the one that I finished with was the talking point of the show. Every few minutes I would check with the studio clock and somebody would look at their watch to tell me the time. Let's say it was 12 minutes past 9, and I would write something on a big board without showing it to the camera, or the guests, of course. I did that 3 or 4 times. At the end of the show, I asked one of the guests to choose one of the many telephones we had. We had about half a dozen telephones, all different colors. Somebody chose the red phone, and I explained that each phone was attached to a news agency such as Press Association or Reuters. As it happens, they did phone Reuters, and we were through to the editor, and I then pointed to my board and said, asked them what happened at 9:12. Now in those days, all the news came in through ticker tapes, and the editor on the other end would explain, no, we have nothing at 9:12. And then I said, well, see, what was the nearest to that? He said, well, at 9:14, we had news that a bus had crashed in Piccadilly. And I turned my board around, and I said 9:12, 2 minutes before that, bus crashes in Piccadilly. And each one of my predictions was always between 1 and 2 minutes before the news agent could have got it. Now, it's quite a puzzle in those days because nothing was recorded, and this is a live show. And that became a big talking point, not just with the public, but with the magicians for many years to come. The format of the show, of having a party setting and having celebrities sitting around, was copied many, many times and became a popular way of presenting a show rather than having a stage or variety show in the traditional sense. Of course, in those days, the shows weren't recorded, and I remember wishing that somebody could take a photograph of the television screen, but that wasn't practical in those days. At least that's what I thought. And then I had a wonderful discovery that a man was able to do this professionally, in fact, capture many, many photos of each show, and that's how I kept a wonderful record of all my early television shows.